Hi there and welcome to SharqiDance. My name is Yame and every Thursday I'm here on this channel breaking down basic belly dance movements to help you get started on your belly dance journey or to help you practice in between classes. Today I am going to be breaking down a very important movement called piston hips. This is the up and down hip mechanics that is really important to belly dance technique in general. So without further ado, let's just get up and get started. For this movement, let's stand with our feet the width of our hip bones apart, or maybe even a little bit narrower if that is accessible to you. We're going to bend the knees, maybe even further than usual, and point the tailbone down. So as we bend the knees, we want the tailbone to point down and the knees to project slightly forward, as opposed to bending the knees and letting the hips relax back. So really important here. You can review my video on basic posture if you want more detail about that, but really allow your knees to move forward as you bend them so that the tailbone can go down. Slight engagement through the lower part of the abs. Our chest is nice and open and our ribs are relaxed. From here, we're going to start bending and straightening the legs to allow for our hip bones to go up and down. I really recommend that if this movement is new to you, that you first watch my video on hip lifts and drops and my video on hip hits. I will link both of those in the description below and also somewhere on this video so that you can check those out first. Now, when you're ready to come back to this video, what we're working on is bending the knee to let the hip bone come down, and at the same time, the opposite leg straightens for the hip bone to come up. When we straighten the leg, we're straightening the leg into a soft, straight position. So we're not locking the knees back. We're keeping that soft bend through the knees, even when the legs are straight, okay? So we're bending one side, straightening the other side. Bending the other side, straightening the other side. So bend through the right to straighten the left, bend the left to straighten the right. So I recommend just thinking about either the bending or the straightening portion of the movement so that you're not thinking about two things, because they're both happening at the same time. Just make sure that as you bend the knee, you are allowing for the hip bone to come down away from the ribs, and as you straighten the leg, the hip bone is coming up, shortening the space between the hip bone and the ribs. So that's really important. If you're finding that you're bending and straightening the legs and there's nothing happening at the level of your hips, you want to really bring your awareness to your posture, making sure that you're starting from a bent knee position. So a little bit more bent than our regular soft knees. A little bit more bent, knees projecting forward, the tailbone down. And that you're working from here, because the more you bend your knees, the more range you have with this movement. I will show you from the side for a bit. So notice I'm not locking my knee back. Legs are alternating, bending and straightening, and the hips are going up and down. I'm keeping my tailbone down, a soft engagement through my lower belly. My chest is open, my shoulders are neutral, and my ribs are relaxed. Now, really important with this movement is to make sure that our hips are stacked under our ribs the whole time, and we're not moving out of this alignment with our hips to ribs, meaning I'm not projecting my hips outward to the side like I would in the hip hits. So if you watch my hip hits video, with that movement, the mechanics of the movement, bending and straightening the legs to allow for a hip movement to occur, is the same exact thing in both hip hits and piston hips, which we're doing right now. But the difference is that with hip hits, you are projecting your hips out to the side and you're really shifting your weight from one leg to the other. With piston hips or hip up and down, what we're doing is we're trying to center our weight almost like it's between our feet and keep it there as we bend and straighten the legs and maintain the alignment of the hips underneath the ribs so that we're not shifting our weight from one side to the other and we're not projecting the hips side to side. So hips under ribs, bending and straightening. Keep that tailbone down. I just need to pause this video right there and make a note that I forgot to mention as I was recording this. That's really, really important. So for this movement, make sure to keep the soles of your feet grounded on the floor the whole time. Keep your heels down on the floor. Don't lift the heel to lift the hip. All right, now we can keep going. And then really bring your awareness to your upper body and try to stabilize yourself from the waist up so that we're not shifting the whole body side to side as we bend and straighten the legs. So keep going here, keep practicing with me. I just want to add a little note to this movement that it's really, really important to be very patient and very kind to yourself, because this is not a motion that we can necessarily do right away when we're first learning this dance. So it's something that we have to practice. It takes time for the movement to get settled into our bodies. So just practice consistently and be very kind and patient to yourself, and the movement will come eventually. So at first, moving the hips side to side as we bend and straighten the legs is a lot more accessible to us. But as we work through our practice, we can learn to differentiate between a movement like hip hits side to side versus piston hips up and down. Keep the chest lifted, the ribs relaxed, and this will help also to separate that upper body from the lower body so that we can move from the waist down without moving from the waist up. We are using the legs to drive this movement, and also our waist muscles are working as well here. As we bend one side and straighten the other, we are shortening the muscles on this side and lengthening the muscles on this side. Let's just do a couple more. Breathing fully and steadily. And then release. Let's shake everything out. Let's take a deep breath all the way in. And then breathe all the way out. I hope you found this video helpful. If you enjoyed it and you want to see more, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments. And if you want to learn directly from me online with real-time feedback and support, you can check out my website, SharqiDance.com, and see what classes I have to offer. And with all that being said, I hope you have a great practice, and I will see you next time. Bye.